All right, and we are live. What is going on, my specialist? SPC here, and welcome to the first official episode of Tier Ranking Tuesday. And I am super excited to be getting into this one because today, you guys, we are going to be ranking all 24 episodes of the very first Disney Plus show, the first ever live-action Star Wars show. That, of course, being The Mandalorian. Now, if you guys watched a couple months back when I did my ranking of all the live-action shows, this barely missed being number one. But it is, hands down, one of my favorite TV shows of all time. One of my absolute favorite pieces of Star Wars ever. Like, I love this show so much. Even though season 3 was a bit of a disappointment, I still think it's an overall solid season. I still do give it like a 7 out of 10. I've said that numerous times since last year. But without further ado, you guys, I don't really have a whole lot to say. Just it's time for us to get into the tier ranking. And here is what we've got to work with today. So I split this up into 5 categories. So, again, I'm just going to say this hands down. I don't think there's a legit single bad episode at all of The Mandalorian. So, just want to throw that out there for you guys quick. But the 5 tiers that we have are perfection, amazing, great, good, and solid. And that's really all I got to say, you guys. So I guess let's just kick off the tier list with, of course, Chapter 1, The Mandalorian. And I already knew where this one was going when we started. This is going straight into perfection. This, to me, hands down, I know this is going to be a complete disagreement for a lot of people, but it's just for me. This single-handedly is my favorite episode of The Mandalorian. I love the introduction of Din Djarin. I love us to see this new world post-Empire, or at least post-Return of the Jedi. It's a time we haven't ever really spent a lot of time on unless we've been in these new Mandalorian-related TV shows. And obviously, of course, that ultimate reveal of this little guy here, it was jaw-dropping to me. I just absolutely fell head over heels for the show with this episode. So, for me personally, The Mandalorian is the best episode of the show, and I'm sorry, so far nothing has topped it. I already know one that's a lot of people is their number one, but obviously we will get to that here a little bit later. But we are now going to go to Chapter 2, The Child. Of course, this is the episode where Grogu and Din go on their first adventure. They end up meeting and getting taken by I was going to say the Ewoks, but it's not the Ewoks, but the Jawas on Tatooine. I believe it is. Maybe. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've watched season 1, so I am going to stick this into good. I think it's a fun and enjoyable enough episode. For me, though, it just kind of lacks a little bit after, especially that awesome very first episode. It's 10 minutes longer of an episode, but still. Next up, we have The Sin. Now, this episode was actually pretty well done with the action. Us getting to see the Mandalorians come out from underneath the town of Navarro, take on Grief Karga, and help Din escape, of course, because Din goes into the Imperial headquarters there and helps take Grogu back. So for me, this was a great episode. I just thought this was a step up from the previous episode that we got. And I mean, just seeing Mandalorians in live action, that doing literal like action related stuff was just so fantastic to watch. I absolutely loved it. Chapter 4, The Sanctuary. I might have this one possibly a little bit higher than some other people probably do, but I would have to put this. Man, I don't know. This one is a little hard. I'll put it in good for now. I like what they do with the ATST in here because I got a lot of vibes of like original Jurassic Park. And just getting to be introduced to our newest character in Cara Dune, who unfortunately doesn't stick around for very long, unfortunately. But thought it was another good episode. Ledger Forever. Quick random question. Movie 43 or Terminator Genesis? It's like asking me to pick between a fresh dog turd and a dried up dog turd, honestly. I don't know. Like I hate obviously if you guys watched my my specialist ranking of the sci-fi action movies, you guys know I hate Genesis with every fiber of my being. But movie 43, man, that's just a god awful movie. God, it's so bad. Oh, it's so bad. Honestly, I'd like to pick neither, but for the sake, since you asked such an interesting question, I would pick movie 43, and it's literally by like a paper thin little bit just because of the cast. Wow, spaced out for a second there. We got the Gunslinger next. So this is the one where we get to meet the one young bounty hunter. I can't remember what his name is at the top of my head. And of course, the episode where we get to meet Fennec Shand for the very first time. This is also going to go into good, but it's going to go underneath the Sanctuary episode. I really didn't like our guy that we're stuck with. I mean, I like that we got to go back to Tatooine once again. And I would also say that just that ending is so like anticlimactic, really. And especially when you don't get to know, when you don't find out until you actually watch the book of Boba Fett, that you actually know that it is actually Boba Fett. So I would put chapter 4 in amazing. Like I said, it's a pretty good episode. It's just, I don't know. At times, it didn't really feel like Star Wars to me. All right, we've got The Prisoner. Now, this actually, funny enough, this is my buddy Andy, one of my co-hosts for the Talkalorian Live. This is actually his favorite episode of all the Mandalorian, which I find extremely fascinating, but I can understand why he likes it. I am going to put it in great. The thing I love about this is the horror elements that we actually get to see in this. Like, they literally turn Din into a straight up horror villain. It's just, it's so good. It's such a good episode. Plus, you get to see Clancy Brown in here, and you get to see a whole wide variety of different characters in here. I believe, too, this is the episode where we get introduced to Bill Burr's character of... I totally forgot his name now. Wow. But Mayfield. There we go. Mayfield. Sorry. I had to think about it. It was bothering me. Yeah, that's where we get introduced to Mayfield and in his crew. Overall, pretty good. You said in your specialist video that Terminator Genesis was tied for your least favorite movie of all time. What's the other film? The other film is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. As a diehard Halloween fan, I cannot stand that movie. It's another just terrible. I know most people would say their least favorite Halloween film is Resurrection, or even Curse of Michael Myers, or Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Hands down for me, easily is Halloween 5. And another question, why is the original Star Wars so low on your ranking on Letterboxd? I love Star Wars. Obviously, I have a lot of Star Wars content here on the channel. My biggest thing I would say that holds it down is I just don't have a lot of like the nostalgia for it. Where like when I first started watching Star Wars, my first ever film was Empire Strikes Back. And growing up, and even for years up until like Disney started putting out movies, I always had this at the bottom because I always was just bored with it. But I have come around to it a lot. Like, it's still a film I really do like and I really enjoy, but I think I can respect it more than I actually like enjoy it overall. But it did obviously give us Star Wars and where it is today. So yeah, it's still a good 3.5-star film. I like the other films more. It's not better than Phantom Menace, or it's better than Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. So all right, up next is The Reckoning. Oh boy. I'm going to put this at the top of the great category. I also have to say I absolutely love Moff Gideon in this show. Like, I think he's slowly climbing his way up to being one of my favorite villains in Star Wars. Obviously, as of now, no one's ever going to top my favorite villain in Star Wars, which is Darth Vader. I always, over the years, I kept saying I would like flip between Kylo Ren and Vader, who's my second overall favorite character in Star Wars. But just the more and more I think about it, and especially after the Kenobi show, it's definitely Vader. And obviously, he's a better villain overall. But and Aliens or The Force Awakens? Aliens, hands down, is the better film. I do have to keep Force Awakens a little bit more though, because I mean, it was the best movie theater experience I ever had. Like, the crowd and like the amount of energy and how excited and sad and everything we all were in that theater is just so good. I was late to seeing Aliens. I don't think I saw it fully until like 2020. So both very good movies though, but just very slightly has to be Force Awakens. And we got Connor McCarthy here. Just want to stop by and say hi. Hope the stream is going well. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you stopping by. Keep, watch, burn. The Book of Boba Fett, the original Star Wars, and Obi-Wan. I would keep the original Star Wars still. I will say that. Watch Obi-Wan. I would say more Char Book of Boba Fett. I think it's a solid show. Easily the weakest of all the Disney Plus shows, hands down. But I don't know. I liked it enough. It's has its problems. It's sad when the two best episodes are basically chapter 17 and 18 on The Mandalorian. Which I will be honest, I even thought about putting here on this tier ranking, but just decided not to. It just didn't make a lot of sense to do that. All right. Redemption. It's going to go right up in amazing. For a season finale of The Mandalorian for the very first season, this was a great episode. I mean, the sacrifice of IG-11, Din taking off his helmet, but obviously, too, with it being a droid, technically doesn't count with the creed he goes for. Awesome action. Awesome stormtrooper action. Obviously, of course, don't really like the beginning part of the episode where the two scout troopers are punching Grogu. Don't really enjoy that, but next up is the Marshal. Marshal's going to go into amazing as well. Barely under Redemption. Man, this might be... I would honestly say it's obviously the better second season episode, whatever I'm trying to say. But man, it's just seeing that Crate Dragon, seeing how they're able to work together with the Tusken Raiders and everything. I just love that. That's the thing I've loved about the Mandalorian is like they have taken all of these like secondary background like races and stuff and they bring them to the forefront. Absolutely loved it. Another, again, fantastic episode. Oh, The Passenger. You're going to go into solid. I've really been just playing back and forth now of what's actually like my least favorite episode of The Mandalorian. It's still a solid enough episode, but this is, of course, the quote-unquote Frog Lady episode where Mando is taking her back to her place, and we do get the cool spider sequence, but there's really nothing of, like, importance to the story or anything that really happens that just... This might be one of only two, like, solids. We'll see. I haven't quite decided yet. But Passenger, like I said, I'm going back and forth of what's actually, like, the worst episode between that and the next one, but we will see here. Next up, we got the Heiress, of course, the introduction of live-action Bo-Katan to the show. And the Heiress is going... Heiress is going to go right above the Gunslinger. It was cool to get to see more Mandalorians, obviously, to get to see Katie Sackhoff come in and be Bo-Katan for the very first time in live action. It was great to see that. The Mandalorian action we get, and the fact that we get the name drop of Ahsoka in here, getting to find out that is part of Mando's next mission is to go there. Definitely one of the better build-up episodes, and kind of like for us to keep watching to get to see a live-action Ahsoka. The Siege. I love this episode too. Great. This, to me, felt like original Star Wars. This is one of very few episodes I actually think feels legitimately like old school Star Wars. And definitely definitely. And even too, I gotta say for Carl Weathers, I don't know if this was actually his like first directorial debut here, but he did awesome. Not only just playing Grief Karga in the episode, but being the actual director too. One of the best directed episodes, personally, to me, of The Mandalorian. The Jedi, hands down, has got to go into perfection. Live action Ahsoka, fantastic. The duel between her and the Magistrate was awesome. We get, oh my God, now why can't I think of his name? Michael Biehn. Yeah, Michael Biehn in here. I haven't seen him do anything since I watched the original Terminator and Aliens, which Ledger you brought up earlier. And we get to finally learn Grogu's name. We get to finally, start learning who Grogu is, find out kind of slightly how he survived Order 66. But this has just one of the best atmospheres. Once again, another amazing episode directed by Dave Filoni. Has to go to perfection. Have you seen Rambo Last Blood? And if so, what are your thoughts? One word, underrated. Sorry to break your heart, Ledger. I have not seen a single Rambo movie in my life. I'm not the biggest Sylvester Stallone guy. The only film of his I've ever watched that I actually could say I like is Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. That is one of the most underrated comedies I've ever watched in my life. Loved it. So unfortunately, I don't have a statement to make for a Rambo. Mandalorian Season 3 competes with 65 for my biggest disappointment of last year. I never got to see 65. I know what's on Netflix. I would eventually like to sit down and watch it just because I like dinosaurs. I like Adam Driver. I think he's a good actor. I've seen him in much more than just Star Wars. So, but I am sorry to hear that. My biggest disappointment of this past year was probably Saw X. Like, I didn't get to watch it when it first came out. I had to watch it like months later. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's the best one." I think it's solid. I think it's good. I'm one of the weird ones who liked Exorcist Believer. Just saying. And how do you not like Rocky? I haven't seen Rocky. Like I said, I'm not a big Stallone guy. Like, I've tried watching a few of his movies. I'm not big into him. I want to cross them off my list to see all the Rambos and see the Rocky movies, because I always hear Jason from Backtrack Cinema. He's always talking about Rocky, saying how they're fantastic. So eventually I will get around to it. All right. We're at the tragedy. This one brings us with Boba and Din face to face. We get Boba getting his armor back. We unfortunately get to see the death of the Razor Crest. So tragic. And we get to see more awesome action. Again, getting to see Boba Fett in action. Like, Season 2 Boba Fett is my overall favorite version of Boba Fett. I will continue to say that. I didn't really enjoy what they did with him in the book of Boba Fett. He had some moments where he was pretty good. But again, I just keep wording it. He was more like a fun uncle character than he was Boba Fett. But the tragedy is going to go to the top of amazing. I was so heartbroken watching this episode, but man, this again, another episode that had just such fantastic action, awesome tension, and I just would one of my favorite episodes of the show so far. Next up is The Believer. This is another episode that has Mayfield in it. One where him and Din go undercover to an Imperial base. We get to see Richard Brake in here. We get to hear about Operation Cinder, I believe it is, from the Battlefront 2 campaign. And we get to see awesome character development for Mayfield. Unfortunately, though, I think it is just a good episode, so I'm going to put it right below The Heiress. Again, I would need to sit down and rewatch the entire series, which I need to do anyway. I haven't done it in a long time. It's probably been like 2 years since I've seen the first and second season of The Mandalorian. So, but again, another good episode is all I can say. I feel kind of bad because I'm like just kind of putting these on here and I'm only saying, oh, it's a good episode. Like if I actually would have sat down and rewatched all of these, I'd probably have a lot more to say. So I do apologize for that. What is your favorite MCU film? If I had to go actual MCU film, it'd be not Endgame, Infinity War. To me, man, that is just a all-you-can-eat buffet of Avengers and MCU stuff, man. It's just probably my most watched film in the MCU. If I had to go, my second overall favorite, it's No Way Home. As of now, it's my favorite Spider-Man movie. Possibility to change. Okay. The episode that pretty much most people would put in first place. The Rescue. I will put it in perfection, but it is going right underneath The Mandalorian. Because I try so hard to look at this episode, and I try to think of everything else that happens around it besides just Luke Skywalker. But it is hard to actually see everything else because for a lot of people, that is the moment of this episode. Because there's so many people who were absolutely crushed, devastated, destroyed for what they did with Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. So I understand why most people are going to put that as number one. And again, it's hard not to put it up there. I understand. But again, I love that Mandalorian episode so much. But it is amazing to see, a very powerful, fully developed Luke Skywalker. So it is a perfect episode. It is a 10 out of 10 episode. It's just still not my favorite. Have you seen Logan? Yes, I have seen Logan. I've only seen it the one time, though, but man, that's a good movie. Very good movie. All right, you guys, we have 8 episodes left to do in this tier ranking, so we are here on season 3. We are here at The Apostate. Not the best premiere episode of the show, so I'm going to put it in good, but it is going to go underneath The Child. Not a whole lot happens. Just, getting us back onto Navarro, getting us back into this world again. Just not a lot happens here. Oh, we got another Keep Watch. Oh, okay. Keep Watch Burn. The Dark Knight, Logan, Infinity War. Totally unpopular here. I hope you're ready. Keep Endgame. Or keep Infinity War. I don't know why I keep saying Endgame. Watch Logan, burn Dark Knight. Okay, anyway, let's keep going. Yeah, The Dark Knight is a good film. Don't get me wrong; it's a good film. It's not my favorite Batman movie. My favorite Batman movie is Batman Begins because it shows the origins and it just has a great story. To me, I'm still going to continue to say it. Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul, the single best villain in any Batman film, period. I know that's unpopular. I know most people are going to, say Heath Ledger as the Joker. Totally respect that decision. Totally do. I can tell by your logo though that what you would probably do. So I apologize. But that's just me, man. I'm sorry. I sadly think that the Dark Knight is overrated. I like the Batman more than I like the Dark Knight. I would still put Dark Knight in like the top 5 though. So if that helps at all, again, I'm sorry. Okay. The Mines of Mandalore. I am going to put this in. Oh boy. I'm going to put it on the top of great. I do like a lot of the stuff they do in here, especially in terms of like Grogu. The fact that Din gets the Darksaber taken away from him unintentionally, obviously. But we get to see Grogu have some moments where he goes to get Bo-Katan. We get an awesome moment with Bo-Katan twirling around with the Darksaber, getting to see. She felt more like how she did in Clone Wars. Like she literally looked like a straight animation the way she was doing things, which was awesome. And even R5, man, R5D4 gets his moments to shine in this episode. Well, I love it. Oh. I don't know why I'm having a hard time reading that. The covert? Covert. Okay. Covert's going to go into good. It's going to go right underneath the apostate. I will be honest, this to me was probably the most boring episode of The Mandalorian thus far. You get a really good like first 10 minutes of the episode where you get some air action with Bo and Din taking out some of the pirates, or not the pirates. I think it's TIE fighters. Sorry. Wow. Sorry. TIE fighters, taking out TIE fighters. And then we're sandwiched in with like a half hour of the Dr. Pershing story, and I really just don't care about this character. Like this to me, especially after suffering through Andor, this felt like an Andor episode to me. And then, of course, at the end, you get some more awesome stuff, but most boring episode thus far of The Mandalorian. And we are at the Foundling now, and unfortunately, another one where that has to go right underneath the covert. The convent. Sorry, I don't know why. The best part of this episode is seeing and learning of Grogu's past, finding out how he does survive Order 66, getting to see Ahmed Best in here as Keller and Beck. Other than that, like the little rescue for the Ragnar, I believe that kid's name was, Paz Vizsla's son, was good. You got some good moments where like everybody kind of goes their own ways, but Bo gets to sit at the fire. That shows the respect that the Mandalorians do all have for her, which is great. Otherwise, yeah, there's just the Order 66 stuff is the only part of this that I actually really cared about at all. Oh, the pirate, man. I love this episode. This goes straight up to amazing. Absolutely goes straight up to amazing. This has some of the single best action in the entire show. The best action, personally, in season 3 for me. Well, besides one episode, but again, we will get to that. From what I've heard too, the pirate in here, I don't know what his name is, but apparently he's supposed to be like the main bad guy in the Skeleton Crew show that's supposedly coming out this upcoming year, which I don't know. I haven't heard anything about the show. Nobody's dropped any trailers. Nobody's dropped any kind of concept arts or any type of a thing saying what you can actually, like what we can see to go into the show. So, but beyond that, the air action, the Mandalorian drop, the Mandalorians helping to take over Navarro and then getting their own land on Navarro, since obviously, of course, the place where they were at was discovered by Carson Teva. Just, again, this is such a good episode. Guns for Hire, easily the weakest episode of season 3. I'm barely, and I literally mean barely, gonna put this above The Passenger. Again, it is one of the weakest episodes of the show. Direction-wise, by Bryce Dallas Howard, I thought it was really well directed. The only thing that barely narrows it above The Passenger is, again, like I said earlier, with the Marshall episode, with the way they've handled the Tusken Raiders. They do the same thing in here with droids, and I loved it so much. That's what barely keeps it above. And the Jack Black and Lizzo stuff, man, that was hard to get through. Do you like Ghostbusters? I've seen the first film, and I remember growing up, I saw a couple episodes of, I believe it's called The Real Ghostbusters. It was an animated show. Don't remember a lot of it, but that's all I've seen Ghostbuster-wise. Sounds like the wife, she wants to watch she wants to sit down and watch all the episodes. Oh, man, my brain is so fried. Sit down and watch all the movies because she does want to go and see Frozen Empire coming out here. So I will be watching a lot of Ghostbusters for the very first time. I thought The Covert was awful. That's fair. Even if you think that The Dark Knight is overrated, can you at least admit that Rise is by far the worst? Out of the trilogy, it's I would say it's, I don't want to say like the worst. I can't really tell you what I think is the worst Batman film because like there's so many Batman films I literally have to go back and look. I mean, I'd have to say probably as of now, Batman and Robin. I mean, Bat Nipples. No. But out of the trilogy, I will say it's my least favorite, but I still like Rises quite a bit. And I feel bad for saying this, but I did a rewatch of all 3 films less than a week ago, and when I watched Rises, I found like 3 to 4 plot holes. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've sat down and watched all 3 films, so least best in the trilogy. Yeah, okay. I would agree with you there. Yeah, for me, it goes in order of its release. So Begins for me is the best, followed by The Dark Knight, and then Rises at last. All right, we have the Spies. I'm going to put the Spies in amazing, and it's going to go right below the tragedy. I like how we get to go and we get to see other parts of Mandalore, and we get to see after it the glassing, and the fact that there are still Mandalorians actually there on Mandalore and actually there, like, surviving. The whole time I was like, they're working for the Empire, hands down. But man, getting to see those troopers. I'm such a sucker for troopers in Star Wars. I don't know what it is. Like, I love the look of the new stormtroopers. Of course, I like the classic stormtroopers, even though they're probably the weakest and the worst of them all. The Purge troopers from Fallen Order, the Death troopers from Rogue One, clone troopers, of course, from Clone Wars and the prequels. I know I'm missing some. I have like a whole shelf up here of just troopers and stuff, but just getting to see those, and then of course the next episode getting to see what they actually are, just so good. And finally, the return. I am going to put this in perfection. Amazing Mandalorian action from the ground, the sky, awesome. My only slight nitpick with this episode is the fact that Moff Gideon dies. I'm still convinced that's a clone, so I'm still holding out that we haven't seen the last of Moff Gideon in the show. If we have, and that's the way Moff Gideon goes out, I'm going to be pretty disappointed with that. So, but getting to see Grogu get his moment to shine, getting to see Grogu and Din face off against Praetorian Guards was great. I like too how we get that moment of Grogu turning off and on to the shields and Din going through, and he gets like a shield, and then he gets a baton, and he like keeps going, keeps getting better and better weapons. It was, man, easily the best episode of the season, hands down. Those last two episodes, man, were just peak Mandalorian. So yeah, guys, that is my official ranking of all the episodes of The Mandalorian. Obviously, too, you guys can go to Tier Maker as well. And if you guys want to make your own tier ranking as well, and maybe share it on Instagram or tag me in it, or if you guys want to do your own video and send it to me, I will definitely sit down and watch it. And we have two more things here. Have you seen Die Hard? I have seen Live Free in Die Hard. I haven't seen any of the originals yet. All I've heard is the fifth one, I think it is. Live Free or Die Hard is like terrible. I collect Lego clone troopers, so try to name a random clone from the show, and I'll try to tell you if I have it. I don't want to say Rex, because I'm sure you have Rex. I will say Fives, Wolf, and Echo. So yeah, guys, again, this is my official tier ranking for the Mandalorian episodes. I need to sit down and rewatch the show, man. This just totally made me want to sit down and like rewatch the show. And also, no offense, I don't know. I hear from a lot of people really love Andor. I don't. I'm not an Andor fan. So unfortunately, if anybody wants me to do those, sorry, I won't. I can't do it. So, but that is going to do it, you guys. I don't really have much else to say. I just knew I needed to. Oh, we got one more comment. Sorry. I have Fives and Echo and a version of Wolf, but I have Wolf from Phase 1. Nice. I had no Legos. I haven't had Legos since I was like 10. My parents got sick of me dumping them all out and leaving them all over the floor, and they stepped on them all the time, so they threw all my Legos away. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it here for this tier ranking Tuesday. Make sure you guys stay tuned for the next one. I haven't quite decided yet what I want to do for the next one, but when I find out, I will obviously let you guys know. So, with that being said, you guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.